So number one skill, let's focus on the first skill, okay? Learning and honoring physiological cues, okay? Why is this one first? Because we need to actually know, like really, really know and be aware of what our body needs, right? And so the easy way to remember, like what are what does our body need? Okay, our body basically has like two basic, like human needs, right? Like no, two basic human behaviors. First one is, like we have the physical need for food, meaning that, our body will physically feel hungry, right? Like when you hear the sound growling, when you actually feel like, oh my God, I can't focus. My blood sugar is very low. Like you're feeling a bit dizzy, whatever. That means we're way past our eating time. Okay. Your body is not just like empty. Your stomach's not just empty for food, but also, it's already affecting your concentration, your focus, your blood sugar level, right? I don't know, let me know, put your hand up if you have ever been there before where you just feel lightheaded and you feel like, oh my God, I'm falling off my chair, or I can't focus, right? Not just about like in the middle of a workout where you're like, oh, I can't really do this. That happens when you're like under eating, when your body needs more fuel, like more food, right? So these are actually physical, like hunger cues, right? When you know your body needs a food, it's actually very obvious, unless you're like super busy and your focus is like totally not there, you forget, right? Sometimes you really forget you need to eat, and then once you're done with your task, you're like, wait a minute, I'm like super hungry. So this is like the primal, the fundamental primal need for our body. We just need food. Okay. But then the second like behavior is wanting something. Wanting something is like a psychological need from the mind, right? So appetite, okay, like cravings and appetite is actually, not physical, they're actually psychological, right? Psychologically, your mind is telling you that, oh, you probably want to eat something to feel good. Right. You probably want to eat something to, I don't know, to get over the craving that you're feeling right now. Right. So now you can see that we have appetite, that's psychological, and then we have physiological, the hunger. Right. So the reason why I'm talking about this, and when I designed and learned this, I realized that this is so important. It is because a lot of moms, a lot of women actually overeat, right? We overeat. We also eat emotionally, right? Like emotional eating is a big, it's a very common behavior. It's a very big phenomenon. I saw Anastasia rolling her eyes, right? I know we all have been there. Maybe most of us, I wouldn't say everyone, I can't speak for everybody, but I know most of us, especially like very stressed out in stressed out situations, and moms, a lot of times we actually do reach out for foods that are not nutritious for the body, but they somehow have, good amount of sugar and salt and fat that can actually like psychologically, calm ourselves down, and they can actually somehow, like de-stress us, right? So a lot of these behaviors actually do come from having the psychological want. Right. So it's not necessarily our bodies are hungry. It's just that psychologically we need them to overcome like a certain emotion or stress. Right. So it's important for us to actually recognize these two things, the need and the want, and then what do we do about them, right? And then we can actually practice something, that's very fundamental, which you will probably be thinking, really? We just do that? And you'll be surprised. Like the simple practice can actually lead to higher awareness of like whether if this is a physical need that I'm hungry, I need to eat, or this is just a craving. This is just something that maybe I'm going through something emotionally, right? Maybe I'm stressed, maybe I'm sad, maybe something is happening inside my mind. My mind is telling me to look for food, right? To like maybe escape or something, right? So once you have learned and practice, basically tuning into your cues, psychological, physiological cues, you will actually start to behave differently around food, and you will actually start to be consciously choosing, the right, like making the right choices, basically, instead of like always giving into your psychological needs. I mean, your psychological wants. You will actually know that, you know what, it's just my mind playing a game with me, and I actually don't need to eat right now, right? Like I probably, have already gone through 5 bags of chips already, let's say, like I've already gone through 5 bags of chips. Do I need another bag? Right? Just an example. I know it's a bit of an exaggeration. So yeah, I have already mentioned here in our document that, differentiating the difference between whether if it's your body needing food or just a craving, emotional need for food, it really helps us become more aware of, the reasons why we eat, and, tuning to your body's cues, right? So this is actually number one skill, right? So let me know in the comments. You can use the comment box to write your feedbacks and shares of, like, has this like changed, or has this kind of like reaffirmed, like your current skills around nutrition, and, your relationship with food, right? That knowing that, the number one skill we need to have, especially as women, is actually to, tuning to our physiological cues. And what can we do about it? We can do 2 practices. You don't have to do a lot. Of course, there's a lot of books you can read about this, right? But, if you don't have the time for that, you don't have to. But there are 2 very fundamental but very powerful practices you can do. Is firstly, eat regularly. Okay, just eat regularly. Like, especially, I know a lot of you girls have already been doing that, but, you can also think about, the friends and family, people around you that don't eat regularly. Like, how can we, help them eat relatively regularly? If they're like maybe only eating once a day, they skip certain meals, like especially breakfast, right? How can we help them, start, bringing more frequency of meals, right? So, what we can do is we can actually experiment with 3 large meals. That's, the conventional way, the breakfast, lunch, and dinner, 3 large meals. Or for some people, if they have the habit of always eating, looking for snacks, always craving something, let's try 5 to 6 smaller meals. They have to be meals, can be just snacking, right? So we can try that. Especially like, women. Okay, for women, we actually do well, like our body, our health and wellness actually do better if we eat, every 3 to 4 hours, right? So this is something that, we can make a note of. Like, for women, I don't suggest to, like, go without eating for longer than like 4 hours, because I know like a lot of moms, for a very busy day, busy schedule, we don't eat, we forget to eat, right, for like a longer period of time. And that's when our body easily would like crave, like the not so healthy type of food. And also, if we do that routinely, right, let me know if you know people or moms like that they leave a very long gap of like, like just not eating, like routinely, like almost every day, or the days are always like busy. Then you can also think about the way they eat, right? What kind of food that they choose, and also their relationship with food, right? So it can really affect the blood sugar level, and many other like health and fitness, like aspects as well. Yeah. So Anastasia said many, right? Yeah, so many. So that's actually not very healthy for the body, especially for women. So we can remember that most women do well when we eat every 3 to 4 hours, right? Men is a different story. That is why a lot of times when it comes to, certain practices like, intermittent fasting or certain fasts, right? Men tend to do better than women. Have you noticed a lot of times those people that advocate like things like intermittent fasting or certain kind of like fasting are men? Right. So this is something that's like an eye opener to me when I learned. And I'll talk about another time. I actually made a YouTube video about this, why I personally don't like, any type of fasting, and also why women like fasting is actually not so healthy for women's body. Right. So we'll leave that topic for another day, right? So, you girls know I'm a big advocate for, like, anti-advocate for fasting. So, yeah,
Yeah,
and then
I agree too. I don't think that's a good thing for the body.
right, right. I'm sure a lot of you have experimented with fasting before, right? And then you experience something, and I have too, and then I couldn't last. So, yeah, and then the second practice we can do is to eat slowly and mindfully, right? So, when I first, shared this with different students, they were all like, duh, it's like, oh, okay, nothing new. Okay, I've heard about this before, eat slowly and mindfully. But, the thing is, are you really practicing it? Right? Because it sounds simple. It sounds too easy theoretically, right? To eat slowly and mindfully. I remember, like, it really hit me when I first heard about it. I was also like, okay, I get it. But then I forget about it. Like, I never practiced it. But then I remember, like, was it like 2 years ago? Yeah, 2 years ago, I met a therapist, and she also told me that, when you eat slowly and mindfully, you actually get to taste the food, right? And she said a lot of things to me about actually being mindful and eating slowly. Don't watch anything, don't read books, don't do anything to distract you. Just eat, right? Just you and the food. And that's when it really clicked with me that, you know what, this is actually mindful eating. When I don't engage myself with anything else, when I just eat, just me and the food, I actually get to taste the food. I pay attention to what I'm eating, and then I pay attention to the taste and the texture of the food. How is it made? Like, I take my time to eat and chew, and I actually feel very relaxed. And how many of you girls can think of, like, the times where, or maybe most of the times, you may not feel relaxed when you're eating. Have you ever thought that eating can be a very good relaxation, like a relaxation therapy for your body? Right? And I think this is something that a lot of us don't get to experience because we rush through, eating, right? I see Leah's eating, right? I'm not criticizing, just saying that you can actually compare, right? The times where, or normally how you eat, right? Maybe we eat fast, right? Maybe we eat in a certain way, comparing to maybe like the times where you just eat quietly, maybe by yourself, right? And there's nothing else, no TV, no books, no phones or anything to distract you. And, I would love you girls this week to do an experiment, compare, how you normally eat to maybe you normally eat like this, mindfully and slowly, right? Maybe mindfully, or you normally eat, just quietly with nothing else. But let's see if we can bring in the mindfulness and slow down, okay, and see how you feel. Because scientifically speaking, right, when you actually relax your body, between the bites, right, that action actually activates this nervous system, this part of nervous system called the parasympathetic nervous system. Okay. And then when your parasympathetic nervous system is relaxed and slowed down, it actually improves your awareness of satiety and digestion, right? So have an experiment and see, just do it for the sake of science. You can think of that, I know normally I eat fast, I don't have time for this, but today I'm gonna give myself extra time to take my bites and to pay attention to my food and see how it relaxes my body, how it activates my parasympathetic nervous system, right? And how it can actually help me improve my digestion and satiety. And you may find, yourself feeling different afterwards, right? So this is something that a lot of people don't talk about this. They probably talk about, yeah, just eat slowly, but they don't really give the real reason. I can give you a lot of reason behind it, either from the scientific aspect or from, holistic aspect, why eating mindfully and slowly can, give us long-term benefit, especially, helping us become more aware of our physiological body needs and body cues. Okay, so this is the first skill, tuning into and honoring your physiological cues.